Welcome to the Awakener podcast, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Awakener. I have the Insider with me. Thank you all for subscribing to my show. You can get it on the website, theawakener.ca. We have free shows for everybody. You can follow my Instagram. You can look up a plethora of information on my website dictating or showing you what is going on right now, because something really, really bad is going on. And then you can subscribe and actually support the show with you if you want. Your money contributions will go to things like producing the show. You get bonus content. It's better than OnlyFans. So nobody wants to see OnlyFans of me anyways. Mike is just looking at me like it's bad. All right, so let's get started. We have so much to talk about in this episode because as we theorized on this podcast for quite some time is that there's an underground movement inside the U.S. military FBI that is starting to bring out the truth. This is having an effect on politicians, the way they're acting, the exposure of this global agenda, which we've talked about many times on this podcast. And let's get this party started. So, Insider, so much to happen. First of all, Trudeau said we do not need an investigation into Chinese activities in the elections.
Yes, and let's give some background to the audience about it, especially those who are following from south of the border. So CSIS, which is our intelligence service, has presented a lot of information to the Liberals, even dating back to the past election, and about Chinese interference. So there was clearly signs of Chinese interference, which they've identified, such as the Chinese consulates in Vancouver and Toronto putting pressure and sending false information through WeChat groups about certain candidates in both of those two major cities that were maybe not friendly to China, that they wanted, particularly conservative candidates, that they wanted to destroy. They wanted to get them out of office and make sure that the Conservatives lost. And they wanted to make sure that any Chinese national here in Canada donated to the Liberals and voted for the Liberals and volunteered for the Liberals. So all this is now coming out into the media, and Trudeau's being asked about it by the media. And remember, he's paid off the media with $600 million. But still they're asking him, and he says there's no need to do an investigation or a public inquiry into election interference, even though CSIS has come out and said there were clear signs of election interference in the 2021 election.
So let's just recap, okay? So if you're not from Canada, we'll explain it to you. If you hold Vancouver and you hold Toronto, you have a great chance of winning the entire election. That's specifically what the Chinese did, right? They ran candidates in both areas. Is that what we're saying?
Well, what they did was either they promoted Liberal candidates or they badmouthed Conservative candidates to make sure that the Conservative would lose the election, or if they held the seat, would lose the seat, and make sure that the Liberal would win to keep Trudeau in power.
Right, and they also got a bunch of, Chinese students to show up and vote in the various ridings too.
Right, and not only that, they got Chinese visa students who are not eligible to vote in a general election, according to CSIS, gave them fake papers, gave them false addresses, bust them in to vote, and they're not Canadian citizens. They're not allowed to vote. But what the Chinese consulate did was they threatened them. They said, if you don't vote for our candidate, you could lose your visa status, your student status, and be sent back home to China. So they flocked. They did whatever the consulate told them to do.
And those police stations that are active will come pick you up in the middle of the night.
Well, that's it. That's it. And there's police stations in the Toronto area, in the Vancouver area. And this is how they keep a tight leash on Chinese nationals and Chinese expats that live in Canada.
So the reason things are happening is because there's some investigation that is going on inside the Western world right now, which we've talked about before, and it's led to a plethora of other investigations, and it's already spreading. And you can see how the Western world politicians are starting to kind of get away from this. They want to quash it. So Trudeau quashes it. What did Freeland do? Freeland came out and said she's tried to throw people under the bus too.
So a little inside information. There was a by-election, the Liberal in a riding in Toronto in the GTA called Mississauga Lakeshore. It's just west of Toronto. That Liberal stepped down because he had a position, I believe, with the UN. And so that left an opening of the seat. They had to hold a by-election. And the Liberals brought in the former provincial Liberal Finance Minister Charles Sousa to run against the Conservatives, and he won handily. And the inside politics, the inside Ottawa scoop is that he was promised that he would be the next finance minister of Canada once Freeland steps down. And there were rumors floating that Freeland might be stepping down in a couple of weeks, which never happened. And so it seems like she's getting ahead of it. She's releasing information on Charles Sousa that he was involved as a board member of a Chinese bank called Wealth One that is registered here in Canada and that has direct dealings with the Chinese government and is apparently, according to CSIS, involved in money laundering on behalf of the Chinese government. So she's sending that information out and bad-mouthing him and kind of tarring his reputation.
Yeah, and that kind of shows some faith or lack of faith in Trudeau, because as you know, here in Canada, if you're the prime minister, you basically have a monarchy, especially if a majority. I guess that shows her ability or lack thereof, or faith in Trudeau having quashed all this stuff. So Trudeau comes out and says we're not going to have an election and foreign interference, and then he kind of blames the U.S. Is that what he said?
Right. So he doesn't say it directly. He says, well, this is like what's happening south of the border. And then what he does is he sends one of his MPs to committee, and she's being questioned in committee, or speaks in committee, and her name is Jennifer Connell from a riding of Pickering Uxbridge. And she says that this is basically Trump-style politics, questioning election integrity. Anyone here who questions the integrity of our Canadian election with respect to Chinese interference or anything is Trump-style politics, and you're an election denialist.
Gosh, they're such losers, man. They're such traitors, actually.
They are. They're traitors. It's treason.
So let's get more into detail about what we think is happening. So I guess when the cards are going to be shown, they're all going to scurry like rats. I think this big indictment that's going to happen in the States, we've been talking about, it's got to happen eventually, it is really going to set fire to basically the entire Western world. And it will not stop any investigation as to who is embedded in our nations, what position. Theresa Tam running our, you know what I mean? It's, I don't know how people can't see it yet, man. Look at her. Look at her. Anyways.
Talk about Chinese interference in our political system.
Destroying our whole fiscal system over this sissy-ass virus.
Right.
It's another story. What's Trudeau's next moves? What do you think he's going to continue to do? He's not going to win another election. I really believe that the more he acts like this, the more people are going to be like, oh, no, we're not going to vote for him.
So that might be the case. That what Freeland's trying to do is put out the knives, because she's waiting in the wings to be the next leader. I don't know if she will be or not, but she's waiting in the wings. She's working towards that. And polls are, since January, it's just been horrible for Trudeau. I mean, he's getting attacked on all sorts of things. Chinese interference. He's getting attacked on Roxham Road. So people who may not know what Roxham Road is, it's a roadway that traverses between the United States and Canada, where illegal people are coming across the border and being brought into Canada with open arms. It's very much what Biden is doing in the southern border in with Mexico. Just people are crossing the border and no one's stopping them. Same thing's happening in Canada. It's called Roxham Road. So it's gotten so bad that the premier of Quebec, the French language.
Can I stop you? Can we start our own style the other way? Can we have the Roxham Road the other?
I think that's it. Yes, I agree. Yeah.
Sorry, let me interrupt. I was being stupid. Just keep going.
No, I think we should maybe do this behind the paywall, because this is a lot more detailed.
Okay, so we're going to go behind the paywall. If you want to get access to the paywall, go to theawakener.ca. It's cheaper than an OnlyFans, and it's a lot better. Good use for your money.